Salutations, back with me again, Jigautama Putrada. I am your lecturer for operating systems course. This is our fifth meeting. We are discussing about concurrency case study. In the first video, we are going to talk about problem 1 explanation. So, when we have reached this explanation, we have understood about the consumer producer problem, and we know that there are three problems. The first one is don't consume and produce at the same time, and the second problem is producer cannot fill the buffer when the buffer is full, and the third problem is consumer cannot take from the buffer when the buffer is empty. Question is, we will discuss more about the first problem. Don't consume and produce at the same time. So this is the rule, but the reason is in question. So why can't we consume and produce at the same time? Here we will explain with an example. So, to explain the first problem, we will discuss first the code of producer and consumer. This is the code of the producer, and this is the code for the consumer. We should imagine that we have a buffer that has an index, and the index is indicated by this I, and is initiated to I equals 0, meaning that if the producer produces and fills the buffer, it will fill the first member of the buffer. So here producer produces a number, data, for example, a number, and then it fills the buffer, and when the buffer is filled, the I is incremented. It means that when the producer produces again, it will fill the next member of the buffer. And on the contrary, the consumer first will decrement the I. It means that it will not take the topmost of the buffer, but it will take the bottom of the buffer. So when it is decremented, after that we will take the member that is in member I, and then the consumer will consume the number that is taken from the buffer. And now is the explanation of a normal execution of consumer and producer. So first, the producer goes first. It produces a number here. Don't forget the I is 0. So for example, the producer produces a number, for example 1, and then it fills the buffer. This is the buffer here. Because I is 0, it means it will fill the member number 0 with 1. And then I is incremented. So now I equals 1. And that is done. And now the consumer runs, and first it will decrement I, so it doesn't take an empty member because it is decremented here. I becomes 0 again, and then it takes the number from the buffer, so 1 is taken from the buffer. Goodbye, 1 from the buffer. Goodbye. And then the consumer will consume the number. Nom 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 nom, says the consumer. Very delicious. So that is a normal execution. So that is the end of video 3. In the third video, we have successfully discussed about the the program of the consumer and the program of the producer, and we have successfully discussed about a normal execution. In the next video, we will discuss how the producer and the consumer becomes a race condition. Thank you for your attention. I'll meet you in the next video.